technology as it's evolving seems to be asking questions about whether the law is broad enough and capable of covering the technology that we're seeing emerge. There is a lot of work going on now researching how the human brain works and seeking to replicate the functioning of a brain in a mechanical sense. The direction of travel of that research, I think, potentially leads us into some very fundamental questions that we need to ask ourselves. What is warfare all about? What is it designed for? What is it aimed at achieving? What is machine versus machine conflict? Is it warfare? Is it warfare where no human being is involved anymore? And what is a human being? Once my brain functioning is being affected, is being manipulated by my own side in such a way as to enhance my performance by either enabling me to do things as an individual which, according to my natural capabilities, I couldn't expect to do, or by enabling me to interact with a machine in a way in which we at the moment cannot really conceive of. Then you start to have to ask yourself the question, well, at what point do I cease to be just a human being and become part of the weapon system? And at what point, when I apply that mechanical technology to weapon systems, does the weapon system itself take on the characteristics of humanity, of being a person? And how do we maintain a continued distinction? At the moment, we don't have a problem, because a machine is a tool in my hands, and therefore I am the operator, I am the person who is the responsible acting agent, and the machine is doing my work, is doing my bidding. I foresee the time over the horizon when that distinction is going to erode, and when we're going to find the difference between machines and human beings narrowing. And the question is, and this is the fundamental question I posed during the conference, and I pose it here on tape now, where is the dividing line of the acceptable? What is acceptable and what isn't? Now, I suppose whether you regard that as acceptable is going to partly depend on whether you consider yourself to be technologically superior or not. Because if you see yourself as being the technologically inferior party, and you see a situation emerging in which the technologically superior are automatically going to win, then you're going to say to yourself, well, actually, up with this we will not put. And yet, you know, life is a very, very strange thing. And so often we have a situation in which the asymmetrically inferior party, the technologically inferior party, responds to that inferiority by finding a way in which to be able to continue the fight while avoiding or while minimizing the effect of that technological inferiority. Now, to a degree, we found this a few years ago with the development of IEDs, with the development of suicide bombing techniques, and this sort of thing. I wouldn't wish to predict what form that sort of asymmetry or response to asymmetry might take in the future. It will probably be the form that we least expect. It will almost certainly be the form that we least wish for, because it's designed at defeating us if we, for these purposes, are the technologically advanced states. This is the breadth of kinds of military operation that any body of law that is going to make sense to combatants, to people who are actually involved in fighting war, is going to have to be capable of addressing. And it's it's I suspect an increasing breadth or spectrum of kinds of military operation, from machetes at one end to autonomy, to nanotechnology, to lasers, to metamaterials. I've mentioned all sorts of stuff we haven't even talked about yet, at the other end of the spectrum. And therefore, I suspect that that sort of breadth of technology and breadth of technological sophistication presupposes that you are going to have some very fundamental, very straightforward principles at the center of this body of law. And it's only if you stick to those core principles as being the centerpiece of your body of law that it's going to continue to make sense as these strange technologies I've been talking about start to develop and to appear.